Hello, Furble lovers. So this playlist is going to be focusing on the application that I'm going to build, or that I have been building for quite some time, called Furble. And so I'm going to give a little bit of introduction about myself, a little bit of my background, and how it applies to actually like building an application. I went to college and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. It went from, zoology was my first one. I love animals, but then I kind of realized doing anything within zoos. I volunteered at a couple zoos, and they all did like dog training on the side, and so I learned a little bit there. But you just don't make very much money working with animals in general. So I wanted to be able to support my family and do things like that, and so I decided to go like after. After I went from zoology, I think I started biology actually. Then I went to zoology. Then I went to psychology because I was feeling a little bit lazy. And then I joined the Navy for a little bit, and I did dog training after that for about 4 or 5 years, and then I have been a software engineer now for about 7 years. And the cool thing is, everything that I've been doing kind of has been like problem solving. Dog training is all about problem solving. Software engineering is all about problem solving. So that's kind of my sweet spot that I like to do has been problem solving. That's my favorite thing to do. More lately, though, I have the other playlist where it's like raising Furble, and I recently got another Rottweiler puppy. I've had Bandit for like 12 years now. I got him right when I got out of the Navy. So it re-inspired me to start doing dog training again. The history of the name Furble is like, names are very hard to come up with, and when I was trying to come up with a name for a pet social app, I went through a bunch of different names. I came up with Pet Social right off the bat, but it turns out there's another website that was utilizing that. It's also a little bit long, and so I decided to move away from that, and I was trying to come up with better names. Excuse me. Went through GPT, went through all these different things, and I ended up with Furble. It wasn't taken. I could get the domain name, which was awesome, and it's a cool name for the app because it sounds like fur ball, which is kind of what we're going for. It's also kind of catchy. It's short, so that's where I came up with the Furble app name. I've been developing this app for probably like 3 or 4 years now. The first iteration of this app, it was much more like a social media app. You could upload videos, upload images. You would have a feed, you would have a for you feed, you would have like a near you feed. But the problem was is it was so complex that it was hard to maintain for me because I'm just a single developer. I'm not a, national company or something like that. And then also I made a fatal flaw in like the database selection that I utilized. I was using like Neo4j, which I thought was really cool. I still do think it's cool for its own like applications, but for something like this, it was just way too slow. I was trying to do geospatial queries, and the side effect of that was that when you loaded the app and you moved around and whatnot, it was just extremely slow. So this iteration of it, I'm using MongoDB for the database, and I just kind of changed things to be more optimized. Before I get too much into like the techie details here and the features of the app, I just want to say this playlist is geared for, I would say, a mixed audience. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do periodic updates on the current state of the app, and that's what we're doing today is like the starting point. What does the app currently look like today? And so for non-techie people, I think you can come in, give me feature suggestions on things that you'd like to see. If you don't like something, if you think something's useless, but the biggest thing I'm looking for is feedback on what features you think would be useful inside of the application and what would make you really want to use it instead of, using Facebook or using Instagram. The goal of the application, oh, and the other audience I'm trying to go for is potentially like some tech people. You want to give me some, advice or knowledge that you may have. I'm building this inside React Native. I'm using MongoDB databases. I'm using AWS S3 for like file storage. I'm using Vercel to deploy the backend, the API. And so for the techie people, maybe you'll enjoy more coding sessions where I actually go through and, try to fix the bugs that are currently out there, which there are plenty right now. And maybe you can give me feature suggestions as well as, different tools that I can utilize. So now that we got that all out of the way, let's start, actually diving into the application. So the first thing I'll do is, I guess, give an introduction to the app. So the app is meant to try to bring pet owners together. Like that's the whole idea of it. And so any features that can forward that goal, that's kind of what I'm aiming for right now. You can create events, and these events are going to be geared towards, what event do you want to create that other people will see? And so the thing that I normally think of is, going on a dog walk, going on a hike, puppy play date would be really great. And without this, you have to go to the park, and who knows which dogs will be there, if any, what the size of those dogs will be, how many people will be there. And so this is a way for just introducing pet owners to one another. And I say pet owners because it's not necessarily, exclusive to dogs. It could be bird owners, it could be hamster owners, bunny owners, anything like that. Get coffee with one another, create a little bit of a community. And I think and there are recurring events as well that you can create. And so along that line, what I was thinking is like, weekly play dates, monthly play dates, maybe a get together with bird owners where you just talk about birds, what you learned, problems that you ran into, maybe help out with some medical advice because veterinarians are incredibly expensive, stuff like that. So we'll just go through the features a little bit now. So it comes up in Cupertino, because that's where Apple is hosted, and so like the current location on these simulators is always going to be the same place. I've seeded the database with, I think, 10,000, 15,000 events to kind of like test the load bearing capability of this app. And the past couple of days I've been working on optimizing the ability to kind of like quickly swipe between these events and not have the app freeze up or fail or anything like that. So you'll notice like I get events, they're marked by these markers. I can click on the marker to view the events, and because I own this event, I can edit the events, I can delete the events, I can open the event on a map because I don't want to do all the different mapping features, and so I'm just going to let iOS or Google handle that essentially. Then you have like the category, and you can kind of filter by the category here. It's like educational, casual, networking, etc. And then you have the organizer. That looks terrible, so I'm going to have to do some vertical alignment there. And you can kind of click into their profile to see, how many events do they have going on, if you really like that person, or if, let's say, if there's a dog trainer that you really enjoy, you can go to their profile and view which events they have upcoming. And then you have how many people are attending this event. If it's a puppy play date, maybe you only want to go if there's, 5 or 10 people going, and if there's only one person going, maybe you don't want to go. But at the same time, if you never, like, if everyone had that logic, then no event would ever have more than one person there. So I encourage you, when I do release this, to give it a try there. The cost is kind of aimed for, let's say I'm a dog trainer, and I want to create like a puppy training event at a dog park. I can have a cost here. Eventually, we'll try to handle like payment processing within the application. That's kind of like a future way of monetization, because that's another tricky thing with these apps is, how do I actually, make money to where I can keep developing the app to where it's worthwhile for me. I can pay for the database expenses. I can pay for all these different things. And so potentially taking a cut of, these paid events is a way of doing that. I'll go through another monetization method later, but any ideas on monetization I'm very interested in, because I don't want to be obtrusive. I don't want to be annoying with like, papering ads everywhere. But at the same time, like my goal is to try to make this like a full-time thing so I can, quit the day job and, build this app full-time and try to make it really awesome. And in order to do that, like I need an income from that. And then if you swipe up again, you can kind of get more information about the event. Currently, these are just kind of like placeholder images that you can attach when you create an event. I'm thinking about doing like media uploads where you can upload videos, you can upload images, but that comes with quite a bit of complexity because you have to do moderation, tagging, compression, conversion, and I usually do that within like a AWS Lambda function, which I've written a long time ago, so I have that function available to me. But that's something I'm thinking about adding maybe in the next week or two. So, but currently that is not in place. You can kind of create like an event here from your current location, which is like it should select the location automatically, because you can, when you create an event, you select a location for that event. And so in this case, I just created an event, or I guess I started the process of creating an event on my current location, which I think is a nifty feature. If you're at like a dog park, you're like, hey, I want to, go on a walk here next week, then you can create an event there. Or maybe if you're a popular person and this app gets popular, you can just create an event right now and say, hey guys, come on down to the dog park. You can go to your current location with that button, and it's a little bit finicky on the simulator because it's funny how this thing just like slowly moves. It's like the simulator current location is like walking around. I think it's the infinite loop. That's funny. This is like, I'm guessing, the Apple campus there. You can reload events, so you can refetch whatever you're doing. You can do some filtering. I'm going to do more filtering here in the future, but this is what I currently have. And then this feature is broken currently, but when you type in like the city that you're from, it should pop down, like I'm using Google for that, but like a list of cities for you, and then you can click on that and go to it quickly in case like you want to look for events in another city. Maybe you're going on a road trip and you're curious what events are in the city that you're going to. That's kind of what that feature is aimed for. When you create an event, you can select which pets of yours are attending. You can give the event a name, a description, a date, the recurrence time, so if it's daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, etc. And I think within the date, there should be like a time selection as well. Okay, that's interesting. So I need to make it to where you can select a time as well. For a little bit of context, I just did like a very big migration where I'm upgrading to React Native 0.81. I'm fixing a lot of type errors and whatnot because I'm doing this inside TypeScript. And so I just finished that migration, and now I'm kind of going over everything again to see, what broke in the process of that migration. Because if you've worked inside of React Native, like a React Native version update is not the easiest thing in the world. I love React Native, but the dependency management is a huge pain in the booty. Okay, so when you're hovered over an area, and I just found this bug today, but it's not reloading events when I actually move around the map. Because the idea is like when you move around the map, it's going to show you the events that are within that area. And if I zoom out, then it should show me like essentially like a grid of all of the events on like a high level scale. So that's one bug that I'm gonna try to tackle today. And then you have your profile. So your profile, you'll have like, and this is another area that I just haven't paid attention too much. Like the other day when I was doing that migration, I was really focusing on making the swiping ability between events like very smooth and not throwing any huge errors, which I think it's doing pretty good at. But I think I kind of over optimized to where, just moving around the map actually doesn't fetch new events, which is indeed a problem. So you go to your profile and you can go to other people's profiles and you can see, which events are hosted, which events they are attending. This attending thing is not working currently. And then you can see the pets that they have. You can click into the pets, you can see which events they are. I'll probably just switch this because like I don't know if well, I guess a dog could like host an event. Like when you create an event, you can tag your dog. So maybe I'll put the events that the dog was tagged in here, and then the events that your dog is attending in that area. Because what you can do is like, you can come over here and you can say join. I guess the interesting thing about that, and it looks like that's another error. Measure layout must be called with a ref. Okay, I'll worry about that afterwards. The goal of this video is to mainly just give you guys an idea about the functionality. You can click this button to open inside of like the native map app that you have on your phone, because I don't want to worry about like routing and everything like that. So I think that's a good little quick synopsis of like what the app is, what the goals of the app are. You guys can see what the current state is right now. Obviously, it's not in a perfect state. It was in a much better state before I upgraded the React Native version. I'm not sure if that was the smartest call, but I'm kind of like committed at this point. So I am going to keep going with this. I'm going to kind of identify a bunch of the bugs that I have today, maybe do some color updates to where everything's a little more uniform. But if you want to follow along with this series, you're going to see how the app is progressing over time and hopefully get an idea about when the release date will be. I have a bunch of end-to-end tests, and I'm never going to release anything until all of those end-to-end tests are actually passing, because I don't want you guys to try to use this and then it's very buggy and things like that. I have high hopes for this app and that it'll be very functional. And if I execute the functionality well, then some pet owners will find some use inside this app, and that's kind of my end goal here. So let me know if you guys have any feature ideas, technology ideas, anything like that. I'm still getting used to this whole YouTube streaming thing, so I have to learn how to say like and subscribe all the time. I feel kind of weird about doing that, but it would really help me out. Give me some more motivation, things like that. So if you're a techie person, join me along the ride of coding. I'll put out some more like technical based videos about squashing bugs, what stack I'm using, things like that. If you're a non-techie person, follow along. I'll probably make videos that are, very obvious where it's just like a state update, and then you can just follow along with the updates of the app. Give me ideas that you might have. Let me know, if something in the app is confusing or weird, or if you would like something added to the app, and I'll try to integrate your guys' ideas as they come along. So thank you for your time, and I'll catch you on the flip.